Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Do, do, do. Oh, 5 minutes in and no sound. You get to hear my squeaky voice. Ooh, that was loud. All right. I have this mic that I use. Oops. Hold on. It's not one thing, it's another. Okay. Yes, you can hear me now. All right. So, as most of you might have guessed, I said hello to everybody. Of course, then I found out nobody could hear me say hello. I introduced you to Donna. This is Donna. She is 7 weeks old. She is actually biologically Bella's baby sister. Gail, good morning. Gail, you missed all the good stuff. I had no sound for a bit. So, anyways, I'm going to put Donna down. She was asleep. Now she's awake and she's indicating that she's hungry. So, we're going to set her down so she can go get something to eat. Oh, what a morning, what a morning, what a morning. So, one other thing I want to apologize. Thank you, Diane. She is cute. When they're little bitty babies, yeah. But then, my babies grow up small, so they kind of stay little bitty for a long time. And I kind of like that. Okay, one more thing before we get started. I have a window open over here, and the window is open because the weather is beautiful and the animals are sitting in the window seat and they're just loving it. And I really don't want to shut it, but I will. Just let me know if the road noise, because I'm like 50 feet off of 4 lanes here, if the road noise gets to be too much, just let me know and I will shut the door. Or excuse me, shut the window. So what are we going to do today? We're going to talk some of my favorite tips and tricks that I use when I'm digitizing. And then we're going to talk about where you can find more of these. Yeah, there's a whole bunches of bunches and bunches. All right. This came about not last week, week before. I had a fellow digitizer come to me and say, "Listen, I digitized these designs for a hat and they're just not stitching well, and they're just not stitching well, and the customer is not happy and I don't know what to do." Yes. Um the tips and tricks I'm going to show you today are not Wilcom exclusive. Now, the other parts, the link I'm going to share later might be, but you might have ways to do it in your own software. But these bits here are universal. So this digitizer came to me and said, "Listen, I don't know what's wrong with this. How can I fix this? What can I do with this?" Well, it was two hat designs. I'm going to bring you up on screen now. Do, do, do. Do, 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 do. Fun? Do you have more questions? Do you want? That was close, wasn't it? All right. Remove from scene. I don't want to remove from scene. Dynamic. There I am. Hi. Okay, so there was two different designs. They were both for hat. Digitize them correctly as far as, bottom up, center out. Stars look great. Here's the other one. It's a little bit larger, but still, what is going on here? All right, sometimes the cats sit on my keyboard. Here we go. I think we got it. Still a little bit larger, but still not stitching well. So I developed what I call a hat template, and as you can see, Good morning, machine. Good morning. As you can see, it sizes out. It's 2.25 millimeters top to bottom, which is about your average hat stitchability, and it's 7 millimeters left to right. I've also marked it off at. I like to when I do a hat front. I like to I like to have it at about 120, 120. Oh, 7 millimeters. That's wrong. I don't even know what I got here. So, anyways, I like to have. That's what the blue is. That's my guide as to how far I want to extend it. But I can go all the way out to the green. So, when you look at this, when you look at this, can you tell me where the issue is for this particular design? I wish I had pictures. I wish I had kept the pictures of the actual stitch outs so you could see it, but I think it's pretty obvious as to um, where the issue is. I'm going to take my glasses off because I'm nearsighted more than I am farsighted. All right. Oh, Diane, you got it. That S in the center. Let me enlarge this because that's exactly what this is. This is the center seam in a six panel hat. This is the actual center seam, and then these are the two side seams. Off the top of your head, who can tell me how many layers of fabric are right here, left and right of the seam? Those are nice looking stars too. I might save those. Oops. Did I move that? Yep. Can you tell me how many layers? More than that, Jesse. There are, generally speaking, most hats, premium, and we're talking premium. Some of the lower budget friendly hats might have four, um, but most have six. You have the inside lining, the buckram layer, which is what gives it the stiffness, plus the exterior layer, the fabric that you see. So that's one, two, three. And then when you fold it in half at this seam, that doubles it. So you now have 6 layers. And that's what you need to keep in mind when you're digitizing. You have 6 layers in this seam area. It was a Guesses are good. And honestly, the only reason I knew this is like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I actually dissected a hat. Uh, just deconstructed a hat so I could see exactly what I was working with. So let's go back to the 150. So we know that this S and the T even are going to be massive issues right here because they're punching through 6 layers. And just so I get it right, we're starting with the T here. When your machine starts its stitching, the first 3 to 10 stitches are fairly slow because the first three are making your lock-in stitch. It goes boom, 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 because it's making the lock-in, the tie-in, and then, yes, and part of the end. And then it starts to build up speed to get to the speed that you have it set for. Now, when it just starts out, it doesn't have the same dynamic punch power. It doesn't have the full force. It doesn't have um it doesn't have the capacity to get through all 6 of those layers, which is why sometimes you have a problem where the needle breaks in that position. Your first 3 stitches break, and a needle break happens because there's deflection. The needle got deflected in its downward approach to the stitch plate, and the deflection caused it to miss the needle hole. So it snapped. It took me a long time to figure out. I used to press the start button and then jump away from the machine as fast as I could because I did not trust whether it was going to break a needle or not. But now I know. Okay. So, we want this. We want we want to get these letters, and letters are so hard because they're narrow and they're short, so they don't have a lot of stitch. But we need to get this start point off the center seam. But there's a problem with that. We don't have any more left to right space. Okay? We can't make this longer or pull the stitches out further to get these letters off the center seam. So what do? In this particular situation, as much as we know our rules say, bottom center, center out, we're going to deviate from that center. Do you guys know why you do center out when you're stitching hats? Yes, the common answer is because there's a curve, but what happens if you don't stitch center out on a cap? And while you're thinking about that, I'm going to tell you what my solution is for this particular file. I still want, when I do this design file, it's stitching the TRUCT. I still want to go in this direction first. Yes, Gail and Barb both. Um, Barb says that when you don't stitch center out, you get a warble in the fabric. The presser foot pushes it along, and you're working with a hat, so it's not really secured to the stabilizer, so it snow plows and causes a pinch, which ultimately, as Gail says, loses registration. Exactly. So you need to do that center out thing. But we have a problem here. We can't really do center out here because we get a needle break every time we do. And we get the needle break because there's deflection. And there's deflection because the needle is going so slow that it's hitting the fabric and shifting. So we need to get the needle moving faster so that it can penetrate those 6 layers as it's going. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to move our start point from the T over to this portion of the N. And I'm going to change its color so you can see it. We're going to enlarge it. We're still going to do our 3 slow tie-ins, tie in, tie in, tie in, and then it's going to build up speed. By the time it gets up here, it's going to be at full speed, and then it continues, which gives us, yes, Gail, which gives us the punch power we need when it gets to the center seam. And because it's not going to tie out here, actually, it's not going to tie out here. It's going to jump straight over to here. It still has that power. Even though we've moved over here, it still has the power because remember your settings If it's less than 2 millimeters from this point to this point, it's going to do a jump, not a trim. If it were to do a trim here and then have to restart over here, you're going to restart with those 3 small stitches again before it builds up enough speed, and you're going to be at risk of breaking that needle again. All right. So we're going to move our start position here. Now, you could start over here, do the same thing, start here. Let's change that one too. Start here, 1, 2, 3, builds up speed, keeps going around. So as long as you build up speed to give yourself that punch power to get through those 6 layers, that's why we need to move this not quite center out. So yes, here, if we were doing it from the R, we would want to go RTSN because we want to make sure we got all the power we need going over that center area. So we would take the R and go to the right. If we're going to start at the N, we're going to take the N and go to, oh, I did that backwards. If we're going to do the R, we're going to go in this direction. And if we're going to take the N, we're going to go in this direction because, like I said, we want our speed to be up here for our punch power. Anybody have any questions on that? Oh, to go with that, and this is going to kind of fall into the next one, our S's, I'm sorry, our stars are going to have the same issue because these stars start to stitch here, right in that center seam. So we can do one of two things. We can either move our star start point here, which would actually work. Start point here, and it will stitch this star, and then it'll come over and stitch this one. Then we come back over here, and again, our start point is here. So we're going to move it to over here, or even over here. We're going to move it as far away from that center seam as we can so that by the time it gets to the center seam, it's got that punch power to drive the needle through the stitches. Okay. We lost the first 10 minutes with my sound issue. So I'm going to race right over to the next one. Okay. Same type of situation. And again, if you guys have any questions, just pop them off in the comments. I'm watching for them. So this is the second one. And again, it falls within my template, but just like with the previous one, this A, now get back there. What are you doing? Come on, I want the A. This A, all right, back up, back up, back up. Okay. This A is right on the center seam. It's going to start right there, and it's going to be an issue. Well, here's the nice thing. We have room in this one. Here's my 120 millimeters, which is my preferred sizing. And then the green is 5 inches, which is what, 120, 130 millimeters, which is good. Sorry. The one thing we want to keep in mind, though, with company logos is their logo is their message. Their logo is the message they are putting out to the public to entice people to look and to ask questions. So we're going to make a slight change here, but our goal is not to change the message. Okay? We do not want to change the message so much that it's not the same message. So what are we going to do? Well, first thing I'm going to do here is make sure all of these letters are grouped together, the letters that have parts. Parts is parts is parts is parts. We still need to go center out because, we're still dealing with a hat. We don't want that warble. We don't want to lose registration. So again, we want to thank you. We want to group these together. And then we want to think about what our spacing is. And I think we can go right all the way to our 120. So I put a marker there. I take the first letter and I move it over to that marker. I take the last letter and I move it over to that marker. And then I'm going to take the whole thing and I'm going to evenly space it across. Okay. Does that work for everybody? Our A is still in this danger zone. So, and our C is also in a danger zone. So, we've spread them out, and then we're going to make a decision. Where do we want to start this? Now, contrary to what some remember, these rules are actually guidelines. Yes, you want to start bottom and go up, center and go out. We have a big element here. We need to build up speed. So what if we did this part first, making sure our end point is down here. No, we don't want to start on that seam. Our end point is here so that we can jump straight into that A. Of course, we're not going to know if this is going to work, if we're going to have registration issues until we test stitch it. But that's what you need to do. You need to think, why did that not? There! That's what I did before. Why are you way over here? Okay, so you need to think about where things are going to go and how things are going to start and where that center seam is with regard to the hats. And then keeping the rules and the guidelines in place. For example, again, I would probably stitch this background first so that while it still has speed, it's going to jump into the A. The other thing I'm going to do with this background, because my start, yes, I could probably start it right here, but that's on that seam and I really don't want to do that. So I'm going to move my start over here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a global underlay. Our friends over at the Embroidery Nerds taught us global underlay. Basically, all that is a running stitch that you start. Oops. A running stitch that you start somewhere. And I'm going to start it off the center seam. And I'm going to have it come down to where I'm actually going to start. So that's my end. That's where it's going to end. And that's where the background is going to start. So now I still have my center out. I've made a global underlay to keep things from warbling, from losing registration. And then I'm going to test it and see if it works. And it did. It did. Is that word spelled right? I don't think so. I think that somehow I got my T where my eye is supposed to be. But that's okay. We're going to kind of fix that later. Well, actually, this is all done. Yes, Diana, it is. It should be Ting. I messed it up in our exactly. I messed it up in our demonstration. I know we're pushing our time a little bit, but I've got one more I want to show you. Okay. I don't know about you, and we're going to leave the snail out of this one because we're running a little time. I don't know about you. The spacing is off, but I have a really hard time keeping a satin column the same size all the way around, right? This logo uses a column that is the same size all the way around. Actually, that looks, oh, wait, here's a warble. Look at this. So we're going to do this and this. Now turn the picture off. See, this is off for me. I really don't like that because, it's you can see it. At a distance, you can see it. So what do I do for that? I use a satin column. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure this, and I know that my column is going to be 5.95 millimeters wide. Okay, so I'm going to go over here, select the column, 5.95. All right, and then I work down the center. Obviously, my measurement didn't take 5.95. Okay, but I don't need it in a, I need to be able to make some adjustments here. So I'm going to break it apart. My columns all the way around are exactly 5.95 millimeters. And if I break it apart, I can now see where everything is sitting and make some edits accordingly. I have a hard time making my columns the same width all the way around, and this allows me to do it. Now, if this, say there was a bubble over here, I could add some nodes and create the bubble. But I now know that this is the width I need it to be, keeping in mind my compensations for lettering. But I can now not worry about making that column. See, just, it's not the right size. Do, do, do. Do, 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 do. See, I have no curve here. If I measure it, does it measure the 5.86? 6.11, 6.14. So if I make, like I said, if I take and I just make a simple column stitch at the size it needs to be, and then I break it apart, then that size maintains itself all the way up and down. Does that make sense to everybody? It helps with your, I just hate it when part of my satin column is wobbly. So this is what I do to remove the wobble. All right. Hold on, I'm coming back to you as soon as I figure out where my mouse is. There we are. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you. So that's about all I've got today. Oh, no, it's not. No, it's not. I was going to do what am I going to do? Don't go anywhere. One more moment, please. I did not have this one set up, but I'm doing that now. I wanted to show you where you can find more tips and tricks. All right? All right, here we go. The Embroidery Nerds YouTube channel. No, Barb, after you break apart a satin column, the column that you created using just one line, after you break it apart and it becomes a satin column that uses two border lines, you cannot bring it back into a one to one line. All right. No, you can't go backwards from there. But let's go back to the nerds. Barb, if you have more questions about this, just hit me up. You know I'm here to answer whatever you need. So the embroidery nerds, they now have a series of shorts that are amazing that talk about different things within the software. And you'll have to check with your own software to see if it works for you. Um, I wonder if they'd let me do this. All right, nerds, I'm going to play this one. This is your latest one. Here we go. I think you can hear it. Are you guys okay with this? What he's done is he's made a closed shape, but it didn't close all the way when he did his outline. So there is an edit tool that will do that. It will close that circle for you. Okay. So yes, embroidery nerds shorts on YouTube. They're amazing. They're awesome. I've learned a lot from those. Um, watch them. You'll enjoy it. Okay, where are we going? I think that's it. They are useful machines, very much so. Okay, I'm gonna say goodbye now. You all have a great weekend. Thank you, Jesse. You all have a great weekend, and we'll see. Bye. Oh, wait. Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. Bye now. Fun? Do you have more questions? Do you want to learn something new? Join me at quicktostitch.com for coffee and conversation, and we'll talk about it. Embroidery machines, designs, and business. Hope to see you soon.